Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham Rakah Kudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GreatMillStone that rule impeccably well. And Shalom to the Akim that's pushing his truth in sincerity across the four winds. Alright, as you can see here, loaded up on the screen, I have an article from the express.co.uk, which is, one of the reputable newspapers over here in the UK and England. And as you can see from the title, it reads, World War III Warning. Alright, UK to send hundreds of troops to Arctic as Russia relations worsen. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that, what we're seeing here is an example of a kingdom divided against itself. Alright, now that kingdom is headed by the so-called white men, alright, who are the biblical Edomites according to the Bible. Alright, and this is their rulership. They are currently ruling on the planet Earth, as it tells us in Job chapter 9 and verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. But we have a scenario where even though the earth is given into the hand of the wicked is also divided against themselves, because you have the UK, right, and then you have you got Britain, and then you got Russia, and you have the United States of America. These are Edomite nations, all right. These are Edomite nations, and them nations are all divided against themselves, man. All right, and really the whole world on a larger scale, when you put Iran and China, the other nations into the equation as well, all these nations are divided against themselves, but primarily Satan is divided against Satan. Esau is divided against Esau, man. So let's get into the first scripture before I go into the article, and this is Matthew 12, and we start from verse 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And that's exactly what we're witnessing now in the state of affairs in the world concerning World War III and concerning the relations that countries and nations have towards each other, man. Right? It's going to all be brought to desolation, because none of these nations can agree. All these nations have their own thoughts on the way things should be. All of these nations, more importantly, want to be number one. They want to rule. You have China. They actually believe that they're going to be the next rulers of the planet Earth, as we call it, man. They actually believe that, and they've even got documented books on that subject of when China rules the world. There's actually a book called When China Rules the World. But what they don't know is that Esau is going to be the last heathen nation to rule this earth, man. All right? And after that, you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who are the biblical Israelites according to the Bible, your rulership is going to be brought about through the emergence of Yahweh Shem Yahushua's return. All right? Now read it again. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. So this kingdom is not going to stand because it's divided against itself. All right? And anything that's divided against itself on a small scale or on a large scale, like what we're dealing with now, is not going to stand. It's always going to crumble. All right? And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. Now, how is Satan going to cast out Satan in these times, man? With that nuclear technology. All right? Them missiles, man. Them intercontinental ballistic missiles that Yahweh Shem Yahushua has created, man. That's how it's going to go out. That's how Satan is going to cast out Satan. And it says here, he is divided against himself. How then shall his kingdom stand, man? And let's get, Isaiah 54:16 right quick, man. Because the Lord that has planned this from the very beginning, right? That Satan was going to cast out Satan, and then through doing so, Satan's kingdom was not going to be able to stand. It was going to be weak. All right? His kingdom was going to be weak and crumbled. And that's how we have this whole Brexit situation coming about, man. You know, because it's spoken of in Daniel's, man. Now, this is Isaiah 54:16. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire." So the Lord has said he's the one that's created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. So it's the Lord that's put the spirit on these scientists, right? These specialists, to actually develop these nuclear weapons, man, that cause great destruction upon the earth. All right? And that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and that have created the waster to destroy. So the key words here is that it bringeth forth an instrument for his work. This was for Yahweh Shem Yahushai's work, man. His masterful plan to create a scenario of a World War III, right? And through this World War III, his only begotten son is going to make an emergence, and all the nations are going to turn upon him, man, and try and fight him and try and, paint him as the enemy. But they're not going to stand, because their artillery and their weapons are going to be useless against the heavenly power, man. You can't fight against a power that's giving you the technology and your weaponry, man. That's impossible. All right? The Lord is way ahead of the so-called white man and the other nations upon the face of the earth, because he created these nations, man. And all things are governed by the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Right? So it's impossible to overthrow Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right? Now let's get back to the article, and we'll go into a few other scriptures. Now, it says here, World War III warning UK to send hundreds of troops to Arctic as Russia relations worsen. Britain is sending 800 troops to the Arctic as a show of defiance. Now, what did we just read? All right? A nation crumbling, man. These nations being cast against themselves. If Satan be cast against Satan, how shall his kingdom stand? That's defiance, man. Right? They're against each other. They're not in one accord. Right? In response to growing Russian aggression and activity in our backyard, the Defense Secretary announced yesterday, all right? Speaking to the Sunday Telegraph, Gavin Williamson said 800 servicemen will be sent to Norway next year, and a new military base will be opened in the north of the country. He labeled the plan a defiance Arctic strategy. Russia has recently reopened Soviet-era bases, as well as increasing submarine activity in the region. Right? So now you have Russia, opening more bases, man. Reopening more bases. Them Soviet-era bases, man. Right? So all of these nations are getting their shit together concerning World War III. Right? World War III is something, it's going to be the war to end all wars, so to speak, man. Right? There's not going to be a World War IV and a World War V. Right? It's going to be a World War III, right? And after that, though, there shall be no more war upon the earth, man. All right? Now, it says here, he said, we see Russian submarine activity very close to the level that it was at the Cold War. And it's right that we start responding to that, man. So now they're responding to the preparations of Russia, man. Right? They see that Russia's got its artillery on point. China has its artillery on point. You have the other smaller nations. You have India getting their artillery on point. You have Turkey. All these other nations, man, are strapping up with their artillery, because the artillery that they're paying for and they're purchasing from other countries is indeed going to be used. Right? Don't think for a second that countries buy, weapons of mass destruction for no reason. Right? These are all being stored for a day that's going to be unleashed, that havoc, man. That havoc is going to be unleashed upon the world, right? Namely upon America, Babylon the Great. All right? If we could turn back the clock 10 years, many people thought that the era of submarine activity in the higher north, in the North Atlantic, and the threat that it posed did disappear with the fall of the Berlin Wall. This threat has really come back to the fore. If we want to be protecting our interests in in what is effectively our own backyard, this is something we need to be doing, man, right? So again, you have all of these, nations, basically putting on their war stances, man, right? Because we're in a time of war right now. We're not in a time of love. We're not in a time of peace. We're not in a time of prosperity. We're in a time of war, and we're in a time of major moves being made by all parties on the chessboard, man, which is all countering into World War III. Now, let's get into a few more scriptures and close out. Now, this is Revelations. It's going to be chapter 11 and verse 14. And it says, the second war was past, referring to World War II. And behold, a third war comes quickly. And that's what we're seeing here playing out, man. We're seeing the third world war coming quickly upon the face of the earth. Yeah, we keep seeing these articles popping up talking about World War III. We keep seeing relationships, getting worse and worse, concerning the US and America and Iran and all of these other smaller countries. We keep seeing it. Every single week, every month, it's being reported on day by day, man, right? Because it's part of the wars and the rumors of war, right? We're in a time now where anything can happen, man. You don't know what you're going to wake up to, tomorrow morning. They also FEMA stated on their website that there's going to be a test drill where this Wednesday coming, where they're going to send every US citizen basically a text message, man. Right, basically, in the event of, a dangerous event happening in the country. Now, that might be, war, that might be a hurricane or any other natural disaster or, many different things, man. But you can go on the FEMA website and check that out. That's going to happen on Wednesday. So on Wednesday in the United States of America, everyone is going to receive, right, a text message, an alert on their phone, right, that's going to pop up. And you can't control it. It's just going to pop up. They're actually going to take over people's devices for a short amount of time just to send them that alert, just to see if they could do a nationwide, text message and see how effective it is, man. All right, so look, everyone's in a war-like mentality, man, except for the people, because the sheeple, really, they don't know what's going on. The sheeple do not know what is actually going on. They're just living day by day, thinking that things are going to remain the same and no war is going to happen. Well, they're going to be sadly, mistaken, man. Because when that war and that havoc comes, man, it's going to be like in the days of Noah. All right, so the second war was past, and behold, the third war coming quickly, which indeed it is, man. All right, now this is Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1, and it reads here, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. Right, so what's this talking about, man? The day cometh that shall burn as an oven, man. Right? And all the proud, yea, all that do wickedly shall be stubble. So this is the day that's coming upon the world, man. Right? That nuclear war, that's what it's talking about. That day that's going to be burning like an oven, man. Especially them old school ovens, back in the ancient days, where it's basically like a hole, right? A hole in the wall, right? Or a hole in the ground. And those things, the way they burn, it's much hotter than your average oven that you have now, man. All right? Those were some serious, technology that they were dealing with, back then, man. Just the basics, right? But they were very, very hot. And you still have, certain restaurants and stuff that use them types of oven to this day, man. But the Lord is saying it's going to burn as an oven, man. Right? And that's increasingly hot. That's a very, very hot atmosphere that we're talking about, man. But we're talking about nuclear missile hot, man. Right? And all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root or branch. So this is going to be something that's going to dissolve things, man. Right? This place is going to be dissolved. It's going to turn into nothing. All right? It's going to be vaporized, man. Right? The sheer light from these nuclear missiles can blind you. That's the kind of light and fire that we're talking about, man. All right? This war is going to be the war to end all wars, as I keep saying, man. This is going to be the deadliest war the world has ever seen. Now, this is Isaiah 9:5 right quick, and then we'll close out. It says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, making reference to how wars used to be fought, with your shields, your swords, the axes, the daggers, making, a loud noise, on a battlefield, man, because you had, hundreds of thousands of men with the same artillery, right? The clashing of the swords. And garments rolled in blood because it was very hands-on back in them days, man. Things were a lot more raw and hands-on. People got busy with their hands. They were thrusting people through in the stomach. They were cutting throats and blood was spilling everywhere. That's the kind of war that used to be fought back in the ancient days. You watch the films, you watch Troy, you watch, 300. That's the kind of things you want to be thinking of when you're reading this scripture. But then it has a drastic turn when you keep reading. It says, But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. So now it's explaining to you that this war that we're talking about is going to be nothing to do with, shields and, helmets and stuff of that nature, man. This is going to be pure fuel of fire. It's going to be a nuclear war, man. Right? Because we're going to have the technology that the Lord has bestowed upon the so-called white man, as we read in Isaiah 54:16. It's going to change the whole game. Now, we've seen a snippet of it in World War I and World War II, right? But now they perfected that weapon, man. They perfected their blessing, so to speak. Because, when you go back to Genesis, Esau's blessing was the sword, man. Esau's blessing was that he was going to rule by the sword. So that's why the Lord has put the spirit on him and he's able to create these weapons, man. Esau's got all kinds of weapons that people don't even know about. He's got kind of weapons that can just vaporize you, that can melt you from the insides, man. Right? That can just cut you in half. Esau has a lot of weaponry, man, because that's his blessing. So he's going to perfect that because the Lord has given him the ability to do so, man. All right? So, these are the times we're coming into. And it's time, if you're hearing this word, to know that Yahushua is coming back, man. Right? Because World War III and the RFID chip is one of the few prophecies that we're currently awaiting to come to pass. And then we're out of here, man. Making reference to you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the true biblical Israelites, man, according to the Holy Bible. All right? So, with that, I would say shalom.